My name is Dr. Rajul Dutt. In continuation to my earlier videos on the concept of pricing, today in this part 2 video, I'm going to discuss about the pricing decisions and strategies being adopted by the business organizations. Now, as I discussed in the various the concept of pricing, and therefore the pricing decisions and the policies, they constitute together, to make a general framework. So when we talk about the pricing decisions and strategies, the pricing policies therefore constitute the general framework within which the pricing decisions should be made in order to achieve the pricing objectives. They provide us the guidelines within which the pricing strategy is formulated and implemented. Now, when we talk about strategy, strategy is a kind of a game plan. It is being made when there are competitors, when there are opponents. It is then taking in view the competitors or the other parties. We make the strategy, so that this part of this kind of the strategy or this kind of planning is being termed as a strategy. Each firm designs its pricing strategies to achieve the marketing objectives. As I said earlier, also, it could be the customer's delight, maybe the profit, sales volume, increased market share, or better public image. So there are various objectives or combination thereof. There may be other objectives as well, but these four objectives I feel are important when we talk about the various objectives related to the pricing strategies. The meaning of the pricing policy may be better understood, in terms of, say, when we say one, pricing should aim at maximizing profits for the entire product line. Uh, the other could be the prices should be set to promote the long-term welfare of the firms and the organizations. The pricing, should be such in fact we should, to come upon to a conclusion where the long-term aspects are related to the business revenues. Another could I feel is that a predetermined and systematic method pricing new products should be provided and prices should be adopted and individualized to fit the diverse competitive situations encountered by different products, meaning thereby that all the products, they cannot have the same cycle, they are not being served to the same customers, to the same segment, and therefore the same product being being catered to the various groups, various segments. So the pricing should be to fit the various kinds of segments we want to or we intend to cater. So if I go, the types of pricing policies, the various pricing policies may be therefore broadly classified as it is mentioned on the slide is the demand-oriented pricing, the cost-oriented pricing, the competition-oriented pricing, and value-based pricing. So these are the major pricing policies which have been classified to have an insight of the methods of the aspects related to the related to the policies or doing the pricing aspect. So the first in this it is the demand-oriented pricing. So the demand-oriented prices is related with the various types of competitive conditions in the market. So we have studied in marketing, and we have studied in economics also. There are various types of competitive conditions which prevails in the market, and according to the competitive conditions in the market, one should look upon to understand as to what are those competitive conditions. For example, the demand-oriented prices again can be divided into various: the perfect competition, the monopoly competition, the oligopoly, and the monopolistic competition. So these are the four major conditions which generally prevails in any manner, in any kind of economy, in any country, or in any area for that matter. So I focus upon the demand-oriented pricing. So what does it means to us in general is that for example, we have studied the law of demand. So the law of demand and supply states that the quantity demanded goes up, and as the price goes down, and as the price goes up, the demand goes down. That is, there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. This we have studied, in economics. So this is the general theory on the law of demand as well. So as far as buyers' needs are concerned, their ability in the sense, the purchasing power, uh, but together with the willingness to buy, remains stable as long as the external factors or the situations remain stable or constant. The inverse relationship will continue. So all these aspects, have to be remain, we assume to be stable, and then we are, we look upon to come up with the pricing situations, or to come up with the pricing decisions. The basic price level is very much affected by the relationship of supply and demand. A shortage means price rise, while the surplus supply means price decline. Very important to note here is that the degree of control over prices, uh, which the sellers may exercise, varies widely with the competitive environment they operate in. So the various types of competitive conditions, therefore, in the market are the perfect competition, the monopoly, the oligopoly, and the monopolistic competition. So looking into that, this looking into this situation and looking into the demand and supply conditions, the prices. As for example, if you are into a monopoly condition, you can fix up a higher price because there is no competition, and therefore you are the only one. You go for a higher price, you extract the cream, you extract the maximize the profits, and then you let the other by the time the other competitors they enter, you already have gathered, or you have already covered the market share. So this is one aspect related to the demand oriented pricing. The second is the cost oriented pricing. The cost oriented prices, the methods or the techniques of price fixation depends upon the pricing objectives and policies of the firm or the business organization. The basic methods based on cost used by the business organizations are, so as I mentioned here, is the cost plus pricing, the marginal cost pricing, and the break-even analysis. Now, these are the major, very popular methods, of pricing when the orientation of the organization, or when the organization did look upon the pricing to be based on the cost aspect. The earlier was based on the demand aspect. The second is which currently in discussion is the cost oriented pricing, and therefore these three are the main basic and very popular pricing methods related to the cost. Now, cost plus pricing one is this is what we mean by is this is selling price is equal to unit total cost plus the desired unit profit, meaning thereby as to whatever the total cost is, and you put up a profit to it, add to it, and this will lead to the price for the product. So so cost plus pricing is the most, as I said, is the most popular and widely used method by the business organizations. In this method, the cost estimate of the product is made, and a margin of for product is added to it to determine the price. This method is also known as markup pricing. Markup prices is as to what is the total cost which comes out for a particular product, and then we add a profit to it, and that is marking up, and then we quote up the price for the product, or decide upon the price of the product. So the cost plus or the full cost pricing helps in achieving reasonable rate on investment and is the safest method of pricing. However, it ignores the level and the nature of demand and fails to reflect the consequences of competition in the market, meaning thereby that whatever the cost comes, for example, my cost of other product comes to say 10, and then I add up a markup with say rupees to profit. So the price for the product is 12. Now 12 is what is reasonable for me as a marketer or as a business person to decide upon, but this completely ignores as to what is the competitive situation in the market. For example, this particular product is being sold at rupees 9, so it would be very difficult. This is why this method has got one drawback, though it seems to be very easy to calculate, but again it ignores totally the demand aspect and or the competition aspect in the market. The second is the marginal cost pricing. Um, it is again an important tool for determining the price of a product. This is a helpful technique when a firm has full knowledge about the demand and revenue conditions in the market. Now, again, in the first, the demand has been taken into consideration, and then the marketer or the decision maker goes upon in selecting this marginal cost pricing. Very important to I would like to mention here is that the cost of the production is divided into two parts. That is the fixed cost and the variable cost. The fixed cost remains fixed up to a certain level, and the variable cost keeps on changing with the change in the number of the units produced. So that means if my production goes up, say to 100, so the variable cost will depend upon the 100 unit produced. My production comes down to say 50, so the variable cost comes down, or the variable cost will come down to the 50 units. So this is what we known as the margin, the changes in the level. So therefore the marginal cost is the amount of money at any given volume of output by which aggregate cost is changed. If the volume of the output is increased or decreased by 1 unit, it is termed as a variable cost. So when the cost changes by adding or subtracting 1 unit, that is being called as a marginal cost pricing method. The third is the break-even analysis. Now, break-even analysis, I have mentioned that break-even point is is equal to the total fixed costs upon the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit, and this is equal to the total fixed cost upon the contribution margin per unit. I'll be dealing with this by giving a little example. Let's see as to what, let us first understand as to what is this break-even analysis. Now, break-even analysis uses market demand on the basis for price determination and also considers the cost of production. It establishes relationship among the cost of production, the volume of production, profit and loss, and the sales all put together. So therefore it determines the break-even point, which represents the volume of sale at which costs. Therefore, what cost again I have discussed earlier is divided into two. The total fixed cost, the fixed cost and the variable cost are fully covered. So therefore, the break-even point, or popularly known as BEP, represents the volume of production at which there is no profit and loss can be calculated. So BEP is a point where there is no profit and no loss situation as to how much to produce at what price will give us as to how much volume should be produced, so that at least the organization does not comes to an equilibrium as far as the production aspect is concerned. Now, for example, suppose I take it as fixed cost as say maybe roughly is 1,50,000. The variable cost of is rupees 7 per unit. The selling price decided by the marketing manager is rupees 10 per unit. So BEP would be, simply put it into the figures, that is 1,50,000 upon rupees 10 minus 7 is equal to 50,000 units. So the 50,000 units, one has to produce if the price of the product is being decided upon as unit rupees 10 per unit, and as I said earlier, roughly I'm taking in the variable cost is 7 rupees per unit. So therefore it gives an idea that it should not be less than 50,000 per unit to remain at an equilibrium where it is no profit and no loss. So the third method, therefore, is the competition-oriented pricing. Now, the demand-oriented pricing, again, depend upon the outside situation. The cost-oriented prices, again, this is an internal aspect as to what the price method I should decide upon. Another deciding factor is the competition-oriented prices. Now, as the name suggests, the management of the firm may decide to fix a price at the competitive level in certain situations. This policy is used when the market is highly competitive and the product is not significantly differentiated. Now, when the product is more or less the same, with the competitors' product, we take, for example, toothpaste, we take about soaps, we take about shampoo, so on and so forth. There are so many products. So, for example, if we take about, again, a very classic example of Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So, these are, it is, again, the prices, one has to forget about everything, and directly it is related with the competition, and this is what we call it as competitive war. So this war is again on the pricing aspects. The more or less the prices and the products are same, comes to an identical situation. The fourth method in this, the fourth policy company may adopt is the value-based pricing. So the value-based pricing means thereby the price is nothing but a prescribed value. Now, what is this prescribed value or value-based is what the customer perceives as value. Under this method, the price is determined by the buyer's perception of value rather than the seller's cost, meaning thereby that as to what the for a particular product, as to how much the customer is ready to pay off, I mean is ready to pay for a particular product. Every customer therefore has got a price fixed, it depends upon as to how they perceive the pricing. They have got a predetermined price, and that is what we call it as a value-based prices. For example, we for a premium suiting, for example, Vimal fabrics by Reliance are considered premium products and assigned higher value by the customer. The higher value is attached to the product, and therefore a higher price may be put up to the people. They assume before even asking or before even selecting the product that these should be a little more premium as far as the prices are concerned. Now, having discussed the various policies, now the next is the pricing decisions and the strategies. Now, strategies, again, I've said, strategy is what? A strategy is a game plan. Now, the game plan, when we discuss a game plan, that is, it is in relation with the competitive situation in a particular given set of market or the market conditions where the firm is operating, is all likely to operate or likely to enter or into the market. So every firm has to take the pricing decisions from time to time, depending upon its pricing policies and conditions prevailing in the market. So pricing policies and the conditions prevailing has to be brought together, and then the strategy or a game plan should be decided or has to be decided. So some of the important pricing practices are as follows. I've given you, I've mentioned about there are I categorize as 8 kinds or types of policy, the strategies with the where the marketer has got an options to select upon. So the first is the penetration pricing. The penetration prices is the price charged for the products and services is set artificially low in order to gain market share. Once this is achieved, thereafter prices can be increased. Generally, the prices are fixed below the competitive level to obtain a larger share of the market and to develop popularity of the brand. We know, when any firm wants to enter into a game, in the sense into the market where already there are various players operating, And therefore, when the various players are operating in terms of business, in terms of marketing, so there has got to be a leader in the market who is whose products are being sold at a particular given price or a given rate. And therefore penetration is, in order to enter into the market, the deliberate condition for the organization which intends to enter into any kind of market conditions or in the market puts up a low. Now it is, we have discussed earlier also, and this is the law of demand. If the prices are low, the demand goes up, and therefore it becomes very easy for any marketer therefore to enter into the market with a low price. The penetration pricing may also be used at the time of introduction of a new product by keeping the profit margin very low, and is considered as aggressive pricing strategy. So it is a planned kind of a strategy, a plan decided upon to enter with a low price, and when you gain popularity and plus, then you can finally the prices are, you can increase the prices once the product has been accepted by the customers. The second strategy is the skimming pricing. Now, skimming pricing or the price skimming sees a company charge a higher price because it has substantial competitive advantage. Now, when you are in, as I mentioned earlier also in this lecture, that when we set up a higher price, when you are operating in a monopoly market condition, so you are coming up with a new product, altogether a new product in the market. So therefore, you can charge a higher price because there is no competition, and when the competition enters, then you can reduce the prices. So skimming is to squeeze out the maximum profits, or to enter or to gather or to capture the maximum market share thereof. So that is, the high price are charged during the initial stages of the introduction of a new product. The manufacturer fixes higher price of his product in order to recover his initial investment quickly. So the whole aspect is, the more I sell, the more profits I make, the more it is the rate of return on my investment. So one aspect is related to the, one has to keep in mind, I've earlier discussed in my previous video in this, that the return on investment is one of the aspects of the pricing, as to if I have put up an X price, as to how fast I can get my money back. So this is one aspect related to the pricing. So introducing a new product, therefore, with a high price is an efficient device to divide the market into segments that differ in price elasticity of demand. The third the strategy here is the follow leader pricing. This pricing policy is generally used under the oligopolistic competition, where there are a small number of sellers, there are many sellers in the market, and any one of them operates on such a scale that an increase or decrease in turnover with appreciable effect on the market price. That is, the small firms therefore cannot influence the market significantly. These organizations charge the prices which are charged by the major producer. So follow leader is there when you enter into a competitive situation where there are many sellers. Among those many sellers, there will be a one seller which will be having a market share, which we term into the marketing terms as a market leader, and therefore deliberately whatever the price is, for whether we are following the demand oriented, whether we are following cost oriented, whether it is competition oriented, the whole intention of the marketing manager therefore is, as to whatever the price the competitor or the lead, not the competitor but the leader in the market has said, the organization sets to 10 a price which is near to it. And when I mention near to it, that means it is generally slightly lower than the leader prices. The next one is the psychological pricing. Now, this approach is used when the marketer wants the consumer to respond on an emotional rather than rational basis. So psychological is mainly related to non-emotional. Emotional is where the prices is being it is a kind of a gimmick to set up the prices. For example, if I talk about say Bata, the prices for the products are placed somewhere, you know, you have must have seen it as, for example, it is rupees 89.99 or rupees 109.99. So they fix up, this is an emotion, and instead of saying rupees 100 for a product, they say it is 99.99. So 99 again becomes, you know, a kind of within less than 100, and 100, you know, it becomes a 100. So this is what we call it as an emotional prices or the psychological prices. It's strange how consumer use price as an indicator of all sort of factors, especially when they are in unfamiliar market. The another is the optional product pricing. Companies will attempt to increase the amount the once they start to buy, once the customers they start to buy. Optional here, emphasize upon it, is optional means extra. So extra increase the overall price of the product or service. For example, the budget airlines are the prime users of this approach when they charge you you know, an extra for an additional luggage. So when you're traveling by, you know, with the airlines, you know, and you are allowed to take, for example, 20 kgs, and it is your baggage is so no, you're weighing say maybe 22, that is plus 2 kg. So they say, okay, fine, we'll allow you, but you have to pay a little more. So this is what is mean by an optional product pricing. So and therefore the cost of the ticket goes up, because, you know, if 20 kg was allowed as per the policy, and now you are taking 22, so your ticket will have an additional cost being put up. So you are not traveling, for example, instead of rupees 1000 on a ticket with 20,000 with 20 kgs baggage, now you are traveling with say 1200 rupees, and 200 rupees would be an optional product pricing. One has to pay for the extra baggage. So the next one is the captive product pricing. Now, when the products have complements, companies will charge a premium price since the consumer has no choice. For example, if I take say a razor manufacturer will charge a low price for the first plastic razor and recoup its margin and more from the subsequent sales, from the sales of the blades for to fit into the razor. So again, you know, the blade charges are pretty high, and once you buy the razor, they, you know, again it's a strategy is being made so that subsequently when one buys the blades, the blades are of higher price. So this is, you know, being called as a captive. The initial one was a low cost, but the blades are costly than the razor, and therefore this is the combination of this kind of pricing strategy has been called as captive product pricing. The next is the promotional pricing. Pricing to promote a product is a very common application. There are many examples of promotional pricing, including approaches such as buy one get one free, money off voucher, discounts, coupons, and all these are the promotional pricing, where the you know, a particular price the product is being sold, and with that, you know, and options of the option is being given, so that the consumers they weigh about the pricing as to how much extra and how much more they are getting within the same price. So this is a very effective promotional tool in marketing. And the last is here is the premium pricing. Using a high price where there is a unique brand. This approach is used where a substantial competitive advantage exists and marketer is safe in the knowledge that they can charge a relatively high price. So premium price process, for example, the product categories, you know, related with wines and liquors and maybe perfumes and so forth, you know, where, you know, premium pricing are being put for the products, and the people or the customers they usually buy the premium pricing products. Maybe for there are so many aspects related to it. I'll be dealing with in the coming these promotions aspect, when I'll be discussing with advertising or the promotional aspects of personal selling. So that's all for in this video, and this completes the pricing, the concept of pricing and the pricing decisions. Now the forthcoming video, the next video is related with the distribution aspects and the logistics aspect of the product, and the next be that is a place of the distribution. Thank you so much.